Welcome, everyone. You are listening to and perhaps watching Calling the Audible. I'm your host, Peeze. Mokan has been kidnapped.
You're not Mokan.
What?
You're not Mokan.
No, because I'm not kidnapped. He's currently enjoying his wonderful stay in Stockholm Syndrome.
That's right.
Although, admittedly, we are trapped here for 6 hours, so maybe we're the ones.
Maybe he's the one who's free. It's kind of introspective real
Eagle's
fast.
speaking the truth right now.
Never speaking the truth is the
They
man
sit
to
between these two.
my left, GM Calestris. His analysis is largely irrelevant. And speaking of irrelevant, he's also joined by Simon Dagenet. If you want to message us live during the show, you can do so by writing us live on Facebook Live
Eagle.
or by tweeting Eagle at EagleFPF. Most do in Division 3 and up know our Twitter feed, so we'll maybe sprinkle them in, but perhaps we'll just go ahead and start the show. What have you guys watched? What did you guys see this past week?
The Dad Bod Hometown Heroes game that went on simultaneously to my own, but I was keeping an eye on it. I touched upon the Vinny Guilano, Steve Center injury, but Hometown Heroes came into this game with a chip on their shoulder, and they just took advantage from start to finish. A couple of early turnovers from Dad Bod squad, and as they saw that the game was starting to get away from them, it just kind of derailed after that. Objectionable conduct penalties, chirping. We'll have Alex Holloway on later, who can go over it a little bit more, because I just kind of plagiarized his whole recap of that game.
Yeah, I don't want him to recap too much though, because I know he'll be recapping his article. But we'll get the juicy details from. I always say the articles are for like true recaps, and the podcast is more for storylines. So that's more of a storyline
and untrue things.
Yeah, and things we'll make up and so on, and segments that are poorly conceived. I dropped the mic. LGM 33-33, but Murray Parek is still looking good.
He's looking great, actually.
Correct. That's an unnecessary correction, but okay.
As a quarterback, do you put him above or below Alex Lever?
Above.
It's hard because it's a small, like, Murray Parek has not been playing this well for a long time, but this season he's been a better quarterback than Alex Lever.
He's been a monster this season.
Yes, he has not been playing this well for this long, because he was playing Div 2, and he played not as great as he played in Div 3. Or
but he
Div
also
C,
played Div B, which is Div 3-ish, and he was okay.
And even before that, like Div 2, he struggled with very green teams, and now he's not only in a lower division, but in a lower division with players and teams that are more comfortable with the game as a whole and understand the game a little bit better and fit into his scheme. So it's cause for success.
Maybe he's colorblind.
What?
Because he did bad against green teams. Get it?
His teams
give
were
yourself
green.
The boo. Give yourself the boo. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
One game that really caught my eye this week is Purple Rain losing to ODBs. That kind of shocks me a little bit. ODBs have a new quarterback in Jordan Alexis.
Is that permanent, by the way? 'Cause
I have
say,
no
like,
clue.
That, like, catching your eye before you click on the actual recap and see that Jordan Alexi quarterbacked that game. Like, if you thought,
Yeah,
that's
kind of what happened to me. Is I saw
it
box
makes
score.
sense. It doesn't shock you once you think, oh yeah.
But does he, like, because I noticed, like, for example, Marco Masiocha not on the roster this game. Does Jordan Alexi even fit defensively with
Probably
Matt
not.
Kerouac, Delaney's?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
But that's also the difference between a Div 3 team and a Div 2 team.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's why I don't know if it's permanent. Or if it's permanent, maybe another piece is not permanent.
Mark was not permanent on the team. He was just replacing one time.
Okay.
I know Kerouac's there for a few more games.
That sounds like a recipe for success.
So if it's just the Lannies and Jordan Alexi?
Yeah.
Question mark? Are they contenders?
Still decent.
They'll be fine, but I think you need, like, man, Matt Kerouac, 4 catches, 100 yards, a touchdown. Matt Kerouac has become a very good receiver.
What do you mean become?
He's become one.
He has always been.
Do we need to define it for you? Not always. No. He didn't even play offense on a lot of his early teams.
He was playing snapper for Finest like 5 years ago. When he went to
Finest,
the year.
yeah, but even like way before that, like there was a time where he was just like a gadget halfback handoff running play for Gino. And
a while back.
And even in his first season, I think with
developed into
Clockwork, he was a guy who caught like
receiver.
5-yard hooks. Like,
It's true.
I'm,
Oh, in
saying,
that
I'm not
perspective.
saying did he develop him, like all of a sudden. He's become a good receiver, but it's through time.
But he was a snapper before.
Yes.
Now he's no longer snapping.
Okay.
It's a different game.
Cool. So let's move on. And Alex Holloway, who won't talk about
Shaking my
himself
head,
later. He had a solid game, but again, just unable to get that extra score. Josh Malkin being the big target to this game as we thought he would be going through the season. Just not really. Why do you think Alex Holloway hasn't looked entirely sharp with Purple Rain? He's been good.
Yeah.
But to me, Alex Holloway is one of the best quarterbacks in the division. And
Yes, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the division. But this is a team that is largely comprised of guys who haven't really played together all together.
Mm-hmm.
There's new introductions into this core as well. And I think that right now it's just the growing pains of sort of growing together and learning what works and what doesn't for these players specifically and developing that chemistry. And Alex is definitely a chemistry-based quarterback.
I saw actually KGP starting Jeff Rosenblatt at quarterback.
Yep.
Not able to completely run with Redskins, although fairly good outing for Jeff Rosenblatt.
It was a back and forth.
Yeah, it was an exciting game. Marco Bertoldi had it, and we just last week we were like, oh, he's a good number 2, and he really fits, and you need it.
And
Nope,
then
he
this
decided I'm going to show those guys they're dumb, and he did so by scoring 4 touchdowns.
Borasha wasn't there this game.
Yeah, he was probably the only big threat. I saw Neil Ettenson going out of his comfort zone. Like there was a 4th and down where he threw a corner to Kevin Libman, and like he's starting to call plays that are outside his comfort zone, like trying to change things up a little bit. But when in doubt, he leaned on Marco.
What animal does it look like when Ettenson gets out of the pocket and runs up the sideline?
What?
What animal would you most compare it to?
I feel like you have something in your head that you're waiting to.
I can't. It's on the tip of my tongue, and I can't put it together.
A gazelle?
Not like
No.
super graceful. Like, what's the most graceful
Giraffe?
animal?
An elk?
Could it be like a giraffe running?
Yeah, like, I can
He's
see a
got the
giraffe.
height
Yeah,
An impala?
and like a giraffe looks beautiful when it's running. He looks like a beautiful giraffe.
A zebra? Water buffalo?
We settled
Go
on giraffe.
Please.
So this is a famous MoCon segment of buying and selling.
Great.
So can we actually approach this as stocks, where
Sure.
they have a set value and you're buying or selling
Okay.
based on perceived value and where you think these teams will end
Mm-hmm.
up. So dad bods
Buy.
unraveled last night.
Buy.
I am buying
Hell
so
yes.
much.
This,
Having
this,
played
this
against them
is
as well,
this is the time where you would buy because it's conceivably the lowest it will be all season.
unless like we see some serious insider trading by Sean Abram, in which he
Possibly.
trades his players away. That's the
It's
equivalent.
a rec league. It could happen.
Yeah. But I would buy as well.
Yes, I agree.
After a terrible loss, he says, Darksiders looking a contender?
So who did you play against?
2.5 Dans.
So were you looking at 2.5 Dans who were the contender? Were Darksiders looking at that contender?
This is clever.
This is
That's
like,
not the way I
got meta
said it.
real
That's
fast.
clever.
Yes. Question mark.
Yes, question mark. But let's.
So yes, Darksiders are looking at a contender, and that contender is 2.5 Dans.
Yes,
That's
I would
clever.
agree. But buy or sell?
Darksiders?
No, buy or sell, Darksiders, correct.
I'm buying. You guys are on a rise.
Yeah. That said, two season-ending injuries, JC Bennett, Alexis Bissett. News broken on the show.
But you didn't have them prior to these few games, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to pick up somebody else to replace you on defense.
Fast. Because me, Yan Drouin, and
If anybody
Fred
wants to
Morissette
play-
can't be playing defense.
if
If
anyone
anyone wants
wants
to
to
play for Darksiders, please hit me up. Purple Rain.
I'm buying Purple Rain. At 1, 2, and 1, I'm buying.
If I have the stock, I'm going to hold it.
Fair.
If
Otherwise,
I don't have the
it would
stock,
be a don't buy. It wouldn't be
Yeah,
a sell.
it's
it would
not a
be
sell.
Don't buy.
because if I sell it, I'm going to hold it. Sorry, if I have it, I'm going to hold it. But I'm kind of worried. And like I saw them when I saw the roster, I was like, "Damn, this is a good team." And they've been okay? Question mark. So I'm not buying. Don't buy for me. You?
Yeah,
Jim?
don't buy.
Don't buy.
I agreed with you on that.
And so as for dad bots, because we talked about them quickly, and we'll get to Alex Holloway after this, who's calling in with his thoughts on Division 3. what do you think's happened so far? We saw them lose this past week to Hometown Heroes. So they lost 2 in a row. Hometown Heroes, Darksiders the week before. We thought they would be Division 3 champions or in contention for Division 3 champions.
I think that's the problem.
What is?
Perceived strength and ego compared to necessarily, like, if you go in, that there's 2 schools of thought. Is that you guys were talking about last week when you think you're the best and you tend to play that way and it reflects. But if you think you're the best and you start doing poorly, it has potential to spin out of control real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's happening right now.
That's fair.
I think it's just 2 bad games, and they're gonna bounce back and finish probably like 7-3.
But why have they been bad games?
I don't even think they've necessarily been bad games. It's just like
Hometown Heroes
I
game was
was never that
absolutely
game.
a bad game.
The Darksiders game was a very highly contested game. Every throw on both sides was contested by the defense.
There you go.
And they played fine. Like neither team was amazing, but both teams played fine. But I think to GM's point, what disappointed me there from potential Hall of Famer, who may have lost my vote because of that game, Sean Avram, I was like, well, but you have 5 plays to win the game, and you're supposed to be the best quarterback in the division, so make it happen.
It's true.
I mean,
I agree with that.
Joey Taylor would make it happen.
Yes. Potential Hall of Famer.
It's true. It's true. And with that, of course, we'll go to Alex Hollowak. Do we have him on the line already, Eagle, or do I need to filibuster? Today's guests on the Sportira guest line are brought to you by Sportira, the official suppliers of FPF uniforms and jerseys, as well as the home to the Sportira cage. Are you not getting your stats because your jersey is so beat up that the scorekeeper can't read your number? Don't be that guy on the Flag Plus football wall. We all know who you are. And get yourself or your team a fresh new look today by emailing info@sportira.com for quotes and details. Hello, how's it going? Hello, you there?
Hey, fellas, how are you?
Good, man. It's Peeze. We're calling you from Calling the Audible. I'm here with Simon and Jim Caletras. Mo Khan is not here today because he doesn't take his commitment seriously.
I was watching in. I love the way you guys have to decipher all of Mo Khan's headlines before you can actually proceed to discuss it.
So, like, you've been on a show with Mo, right? Like
I did a whole season with Mo last year.
So you know what the scripts are like when you get them, right? Like there's a different line. There's English and then there's Mo Khan English, and it's
you get the script basically, and it's bare bones, right, as far as you're concerned, and then you just kind of have to write in all the rational stuff that makes sense. So that's it. It's kind of like an episode of Indiana Jones. You know, it's like you're on this grand mystery that never seems to have an end in sight. But you have to keep digging through the darkness, and you'll find a way. That's working with Mo 101.
In Division 3, what makes sense to you right now?
What makes sense in which way?
If you were reading a Mo Khan script right now, like, and going over what we've been going over in Division 3, to you, what makes sense in Division 3? Or talk about the past week that's not going to be included in your article.
So, doing a quick scan of the two conferences, let's say if you look into Conference A, we see a really balanced division, lots of parity, right? There's no more undefeated teams in this conference. The top team is 2.5 Dance Brotherhood and Hometown Heroes tied at 3-1. And then in Conference A East, you have a bunch of teams basically floundering around the Mendoza line. You know, Darksiders at 2-2 at -24. Dadbots reeling after 2 straight losses are actually leading that sub-conference. So I think that the Conference A is certainly the conference of parity, whereas in Conference B, we're going to have, right, the headlining showdown this week, Top Sauce 4-0 versus Laval's Finest 4-0. So if I was going to put it this way, I see a bloodfest shaping up for the second half of the season in Conference A, whereas Conference B, you know, the mighty powers that be keep licking their chops and waiting for their semifinal appearance, basically.
Do you think it's true parity in A, or is just no one that good?
No, I think it's true parity because I think certain teams have underperformed to date, but I do think it's true parity. If you look at the depth of the teams in both conferences, preseason I had alluded to this as well. Conference A is a lot more stacked. Is a lot more stacked than Conference B in terms of depth, and I think you're kind of seeing that play out that way in the record so far. You see a lot of top-heavy teams in conference. If you look at a team like Bearskins, right, 3-1, they haven't really had their complete roster at all. You know, like they haven't even really been pushed yet, and yet they remain at 3-1. So I definitely think that Conference B is a conference of top-heavy contenders right now.
Looking at the bottom tier, the bottom group of teams in Conference B, Junkyard Dogs, Dirty Dogs, and Les Malheuds, as well as LGM. Do you see one of these teams as a team that will have a significantly better second half of the season?
Well, yes, LGM is not a bottom half team. They do sit at 1-2-1. However, they lost week 1 within the last 5 plays to QB movement in a heartbreaking fashion. Right, tipped the ball through the hands of Mathieu Graton. Alex Lever was going to milk the clock if not for that simple mistake. And then they lost week 2 with Fred Dupuis to Simon. They were leading late. Simon had the heroic late game drive. They could have came out with a win there. They tied this week against Drop the Mic. That was a very interesting game. 2 gunslinging quarterbacks going at each other. I had the privilege to watch that one firsthand. LGM also they were driving late. They had the lead. They were looking to ice it, and they were victims of an unfortunate botched call by one of our referees, and it came back to hurt them again, which caused them to tie. So this team could. So what happened? It was essentially yes. So LGM, just to wrap it up shortly, LGM was marching. They had like a 2-point lead late, and it was 4th down. They were at about the 5-yard line. It was 4th down and 1, and Lever went for a 2-yard slant, hit his receiver. The defender kind of bumped him as the receiver caught the ball, forcing the receiver to go backwards, and that's when he deflagged him afterwards. But clearly, yards had been gained by the receiver. Everyone on the field kind of saw it that way. But the referee, it's kind of like a snap decision. He gave him the call from where the flag was pulled out after the momentum carried him backwards. So it was something that was contested. LGM kind of had a little bit of a blow up at that moment, but fortunately they were able to maintain their composure. They came back, they got the tie from that one. But if you look at all of these scenarios, this team could potentially be 4-0. It could be 3-1. So LGM, don't be disillusioned by their record right now. This is a strong team in Division 3.
Is Dirty Dogs offense too one-dimensional with Dave Chitty receiving the bulk of the attention on offense?
They have to be. They have to be at this point, right? They have to go and play hero ball. It has to be like the old OKC Thunder, Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Just pull out your guns and start firing. That's what they have to do at this point if they want to succeed. They don't have the depth of roster right now to compete with the top end teams in Division 3. So you know what? Lewinsky is a fantastic athlete, a grade A athlete in all of FPF. He can scramble around for days in the backfield, and Chidiat's the leading receiver right now in Division 3 overall. So just let those 2 guys go out there and do what they do and try to put some points up on the board. I wouldn't suggest any other strategy for them.
They came so close to beating QB movement as well. That game was back and forth, especially in those last 2 minutes of the game. The score just the lead kept changing, and Leonowski at one point just aired it out on the last play of the game. It went through the hands of one of the Dirty Dogs receivers. Then it got so close to being picked off by Adrian Kelman, but then he tipped it backwards, and Dave Chidiat was sandwiched between two defenders and was trying to make that catch, but it fell incomplete. It was so close, and it honestly could have gone either way. And if you play the end of that game 10 times, you'll have 5-5, I think, where 5 times Dirty Dogs win that game and 5 times QB Movement win that game.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's the thing. So in the early part of the season, right, we can't be too quick to judge a lot of these teams because it's those little instances that kind of separate a team from being 1-3 versus 3-1, and so you got to give them a little bit more time to kind of spread their wings and kind of stretch out. But now we're going to start to hit the stretch, and we're going to see if you see those instances continue to compile up, where every week there's an excuse why they lose, then that kind of fits the profile of a team, and we'll be able to say. But I think a lot of these teams that are 500 or just below have a very good prospectus for the second half of the season. There's only they need maybe just a tiny little the ball to kind of bounce in their favor at one moment or another, and they could feel good about themselves when they leave the field.
Looking at some of and I know you just said we can't make these kind of decisions early in the season, but I'm going to force you to. Looking at the top teams in this division, who do you think just has an implosion in the second half and really just sees themselves either as like an outside looking in or one and done in the playoffs?
Well, okay, so break it into two parts then, because I do like the question. I think that one team that started off, yeah. Well, if it feels good, then it's all right. So I think Bearskins at 3-1. I like the Bearskins, gritty group of guys. I think they haven't been tested yet. I think that once the meat of their schedule starts to hit, they better have their full roster. But will they have the chemistry by then built? That's another great question. Having watched them play last night, yes, no Guillaume Barassa. Defense did not look very impressive versus a Jeff Rosenblatt-led KGP. So there's some question marks there, certainly. Who's the backup number 2 receiver behind Marco Bertoldi? Is Guillaume Barassa going to maintain that standard? So I think Bearskins are a team that can kind of revert back to the mean, I guess, and maybe finish closer to 500. And then if I look at one of the top teams who I think might, once they get to the playoffs, be a one and done. You know what? This week's going to be such an intriguing matchup: Top Sauce versus
one and done.
Finest.
What's up?
I think that the Top Sauce are not are a legit team. I think Top Sauce have the defense. I think that Vince is getting better as a quarterback every week, and he's getting more and more comfortable with his receivers. One of the top 5 QBs in the division right now. Laval's Finest, on the other hand, they're kind of squeaking out wins the last few weeks. They look very sluggish. They're throwing a lot of INTs on offense. They're allowing inferior opponents to hang around. Yes, they're winning games based on the depth of their talent, but how long is that going to continue until that depth can't carry them to victory anymore? All it takes is one little slip up come playoff time. So I think there's just one team right now that the top dogs that looks a little bit concerning. I think that would be Laval, but then again they have a chance to correct all of that on Monday night versus Top Sauce.
You mentioned Top Sauce. They've allowed a division low 37 points. What about their defense makes them truly special?
You look at a guy like Vince Nardone. He's in my mind he's the number 1 first ballot Hall of Famer in this class. He's a prestigious player in all divisions. He calls a mean defense. It's creative. There's a lot of different looks. There's a lot of different shoots, moving parts. You have Chris Millard, who's perhaps the premier rusher in all of FPF right now. Not many. You have less than 2 seconds basically to get the ball out, or he's taking the flag. Then you have other guys to fill the pieces. You have Justin Blanchard. You have Rob Allen. You have just experienced moving big bodies to fill up the depth and make the quarterback's perception a lot smaller on the field. I also think one thing that's benefited them greatly is that they haven't really played a great opponent yet, so they're just kind of clamping down on kind of struggling teams right now. So I do want to see them against some of the better teams, because I think this is a Top Sauce team that's very similar to Top Sauce teams in the past, who've always had a good defense, but have never been a completely stifling defense. They've always had more of a balanced approach, and I think that right now they look super defensive, but let's see how that plays out. Look, Laval's Finest, Dad Bods coming up, Dirty Dogs, who have a mean offense, LGM, scrappy team, KGP, drop the mic to finish the season. So if you want to test their defense, their defense is going to be tested in the next 6 weeks.
Hey, Hollow, this is Eagle. I got a question for you. Is there
He
any
knows it's you,
team,
don't worry.
Well, just for the audience too. Is there any team or teams that you think need to do a signing in this bye week pretty much to try and improve so they don't end up in the gutter for the rest of the season?
Other than Darksiders, as we discussed earlier.
That's a good question, Eagle. I think definitely there's some signings that can be taken that can take place. I look at a team like Junkyard Dogs sitting at 0-3-1. This is a team comprised of a lot of veterans in FPF. They have a lot of pride, but they don't have the entire roster depth to compete at this level. But they do have the top end talent to compete at this level. So I think a team like that would benefit from adding a complementary piece to Carmen Polici, and adding a complementary piece to Dylan Daou on defense, and bringing someone in that can really make an impact. Perhaps somebody from the past that they've had, a Jacob Burnett, a Hugo Alamano, one of those game changing guys. I think is what's needed from a roster like this in order to turn around their second half of the year.
Hollow, this week is Super Bowl week. For you and I, we'd also know it as the beginning of NBA offseason speculation week. We saw Blake Griffin get traded already. It looks as though the Clippers making room for LeBron James. Where does LeBron end up next year?
Ooh, that's the like $100 million question, isn't it?
At least $100 million.
At least in maybe 2 years he'll make that much. You know what? I think that LA market looks enticing. I think that LeBron probably wants to go to that big market to finish out his career, reap in all the endorsement deals, be the grand American hero that he's constructed himself up to be throughout his whole career. So I don't think it's going to be the LA Clippers. However, I think he's going to go to the Lakers. I think he's gonna join forces with the Triple B's, and I think they're going to rule the universe at that point.
What action are you giving me on if I take the Rockets?
The Rockets, oof! I'll give you fair odds on that one, because it might very well be.
All right, we'll discuss the gambling side of this off the air. Thank you, Hollow, for joining us.
Always a pleasure, guys. Always a pleasure. Have a good night.
That was Alex Hollowak. His article will be available to read for Division 3 sometime in the next 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's really seeing 2 over the next weeks or if he's done 1. Likely. It will
be posted when it's up.
Yeah, it'll be available.
And so we do.
How about you wait for me to finish this?
I thought you were done.
You did take a long pause.
Go ahead.
We do have some write-ins.
Sorry, I need to breathe.
Ryan Narita going, "What's up, boys? Peeze for Hall of Fame."
Nope.
And then
Hall of Fame.
Yeah. With only 2 teams not making the playoffs in Division 3 per conference, do you believe the regular season is basically 10 weeks of fun, and then it really comes down to the 1 game knockout in playoffs? So the ranking's pretty much useless?
If you're playing on a team that's struggling to get the last piece, to one of those last playoff spots, it's not 10 weeks of fun, it's 10 weeks of torture.
10 weeks of stress.
So there's 10 weeks of stress. But for some teams, there is definitely, I do feel as though, and different teams have approached this differently. We talked about dad bods. We talked about 2.5 Dans in previous weeks. We talked about Darksiders. We talked about teams that we expect to be fine, all sort of tuning up. That like nothing looks particularly good in the team. They all look all right. They all look fine, but the offense isn't clicking, or the defense isn't great, or the quarterback's not playing well, or like it's just you look at these teams, and they're just not there yet. They seem to really be tuning up.
But they got time. Like that's sort of his point. Is if you're one of those teams that we know you're going to be good and you have these wins already and you're comfortable in your situation, you've got 6 more weeks to kind of practice and get that chemistry together. If you're a 0-4 or 1-3 team, you might not have that luxury.
I actually disagree with that. I think that if you're one of those top tier teams, you don't really at the time, and I once again lean on that Royals team that went 10-0 and then were not even one and done in the playoffs. They were done in the playoffs without that one. Is you don't really learn anything by going 10-0.
That's fair.
I think it's a bad thing more than it's a good thing.
As Top Sauce sits at 4.
Yeah, exactly. I'm reliving it all over again.
Yeah.
Whereas these teams that like Dad Bods, like Darksiders, who are good teams but are underachieving, they learn from their mistakes and they get far better.
And again, I think to Hollow's point, we're seeing that in Conference A. We're seeing it in Conference A where top to bottom, man, all the teams are not even relatively good, relatively the same. Everyone's fairly strong, and not necessarily a top tier talent, but all these teams will come in battle tested, I believe. Conference B, I think, for example, Top Sauce, the battles are coming ahead in the schedule. I just looked at the second half of the schedule, and it's much stronger than the first half. So I think, but in the end, Division 3 is a strong division, and I think no one will skate into the playoffs easily. Even if it's 10-0, you'll have had some tough games to get there.
Was Ryan the only right-in, or did you have another one primed for us?
It sounded like you had a couple. I don't have the script in front of me. When I had to open another tab. What do we got?
We were somewhere around this area.
Yeah. Heroes have defeated Brotherhood, and they face 2.5 Dans at the end of February. Is Herminio Yadaluka a serious quarterback of the year candidate? It's
Yes.
a weird way to get to that question.
Yeah. Thank you, Mo.
But yeah, I remember the first introduction I had to Herminio Yadaluka was Rob was telling me he was like the first FPF superstar in the black and white era of FPF. So I mean, he's kind of performed at that level before. So I don't think it's unrealistic.
I think that this is one of the first few times, if not the first time, where Herminio has been surrounded by talent that is representative of his own. Whereas there have often been teams he's played on in lower divisions, whether he's quarterbacking or otherwise, where he's one of the standouts, but then there's a sharp drop off after that. Whereas this is a team that surrounds him with equal caliber talent, and he can really excel and strive at in this division. So even though this is probably, I think, the highest division Herminio is quarterback, at least in recent memory, he's doing by and far the best he's ever done, because not just of his own talent, but the talent of those around him.
If we take a look at some of those teams we mentioned, 2.5 Dans, Brotherhood, Hometown Heroes, they're all 3-1. I have a feeling our list will all be very similar. Who do we think the best team is, and how do we rank them?
At the moment, I think.
Simo, as a guy who just got your ass kicked by Brotherhood,
Yes.
how do you rank these teams?
Good times. It's the yearly reminder that I'm not very good.
Yes.
I'd say Hometown Heroes is number one at the moment. I think moving forward, Brotherhood's probably going to catch up and become that number one again. But I see Hometown Heroes right now being that.
But are we just doing that with
best
Brotherhood
3-1
based
team.
on reputation?
No, I just played against them, right?
Yeah, but they also haven't scored more than 4 touchdowns in a game, even with you. At
But the
quarterback.
game was slow. Like that game, I had 4 possessions. Theo had 5, maybe. Like he punted once,
Mhm.
so that's not bad. It's just when you break it down, it feels like they're having a slower pace game because he knows their defense is that good, and you're not going to score on them every drive.
Mhm.
So with that being said, he doesn't need to have 7 or 8 possessions as a quarterback, because if he makes one mistake, then his defense gets that one interception and they're back in the game.
So you're ranking Brotherhood at 1.
I'm ranking them at 2. I say Hometown Heroes at the moment at number 1. They have that win over Brotherhood. They're playing really well. At the moment, Hometown Heroes is the better team. Brotherhood's right behind.
I just think it's recency bias. I rank Brotherhood as 1 in the group anyway. But to me, all these teams are concerning. And none of them have particularly played their best football, so to speak, if I can borrow a cliche from Okan.
Okay, that's fair.
So I think it can go either way. Like any of these teams can really like explode at any moment, kind of
Yep.
thing. Like we were kind of at the hands of 2.5 Dans, and I was like, oh, that's not how they looked the first few weeks at all.
And then boom this week.
Wow, you know. So I mean, like it was a reminder, like that's a strong team, you know. And it's like we were talking about with Herminio Yadaluka, this is the best core that Joey Taylor's played with.
Yep.
I don't know if they'll all fit by the end of the season, but definitely on defense, this team is going to give him chances to win the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Your rankings.
My rankings.
I hate it. I know. You don't have
But
to do
even
it.
like in this instance where like A beat B, B beat C, and
Yeah.
then C beat A, like can A beat C and vice versa? I don't think it matters
By
ranking
the power
them
of
because
transference, yeah.
even if we rank them, like we would both rank the Brotherhood ahead of Hometown Heroes, but Hometown Heroes beat the Brotherhood.
Yeah.
So like of the 3, the Brotherhood are on paper the best, but it doesn't matter.
Mm.
So ranking is
I still think there's something funky with like there's something up. I think part of it might be just the whole thing coming into the season with like having guys on the roster who are not going to play every game because they don't fit. Like there's a lack of cohesion, I think. And
That's fair.
hopefully it fixes itself because by the end they're going to have their full roster that's going into the playoffs, so that'll sort of solve itself, you know. But that's what I see when I'm seeing them at this point. Let's not forget the 2 teams because that's kind of been the theme today.
Yep.
Looking at 500, ODBs and Recipe for Disaster.
Yep.
Let's spotlight them quickly. What do you think is going on? Are they a team that's 500 but could have easily we expect to fall below, or we expect to.
These two teams have largely different explanations for why they're 2-2 right now.
Give me.
I think Recipe for Disaster. They're a unit. They're a core, but they have a quarterback who hasn't played in years and has just come back from injury, and he's playing in, I think, the highest division he's ever played. I don't think he's played Division 3 before. In Jake Applebaum, the player who I should be naming by full name. I think that the core are very experienced together and will do well, but it's also Division 3, and it's a step up for them in the same way that, like, right now Junkyard Dogs are struggling, having moved up from Division 4 to Division 3. There's another Les Malouds are struggling after having won Division 4 and moving up to Division 3. So I think it just the higher competition lends to.
It's strange. I feel like Division 3 is not necessarily as strong as it's been. But I feel it's the hardest season for teams to move up and see success.
Yes.
Because it's kind of become like a communal, like it's a bunch of teams that know they're not strong enough
and
to
they cannibalize each other.
And they're strong enough to beat each other, but then these new teams coming in like, oh, this is not fun.
It's tough because you face a lot of these Div 1 and 2 players that kind of want to have like the second and third team or play with their friends, whatever. So you see guys like TOJ, Vince Nardone play in Division 3, and then when you move up as a core, as a Division 4 team, you have that one standout player who's really good, and now he's manning up against TOJ. He's not that dominant anymore, and you have to rely on your other pieces, and sometimes you don't have those other pieces.
So yeah, I guess is when you're a bigger fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
Like it's difficult to maintain when as the competition elevates.
And you mentioned Vince Nardone, and I'm going to use this part of Mo's script to get snippets from GM, so we can, if it doesn't go Top Sauce's way, we can post it and make fun of him later.
Okay.
So Mo asks, he's writing in from captivity, of course.
Mm-hmm.
At
Indiana.
At the rate they're going, could Top Sauce be considered the greatest ever D3 team if they win the title?
Are you looking at me or are you asking Simon?
I'm asking Simon, but I want you to hype it up. I want
Okay.
I want it to be Top Sauce.
So I'll let him answer, and
Yeah.
then you can come back to me.
Okay. So the greatest defense, yes. They've allowed 37 points in 4 weeks. It's ridiculous.
Cool. So you just looked at the points allowed, and that's your analysis. We couldn't have all done that at home.
I wasn't done, but
Right.
you cut me off,
I
so
know,
I
it's
guess
more-
I'll finish here.
It's more enjoyable if I make fun of you. So go ahead.
So the greatest ever Div 3 team? No. The
Because-
greatest ever Div 3 defense? Yes.
Because.
Because the points they've allowed. They're on pace to allow less than 100 points in a season.
So again, all you did was look at one stat and like, I'm going to base my entire analysis on this.
Yeah.
None of
After
also
saying
include-
that Top Sauce had a light early season schedule.
Yeah. Consistent Simon Dagenet.
Yeah.
He's
The
consistent.
question
in his
is,
lack
are
of
they on
consistency.
pace? Yes, they're on pace to be the greatest defense in Division 3.
Will
Okay.
that happen?
I don't
But
think so.
I mean, look, you're paid for analysis, not to just read us.
Well,
stat line.
paid, first of all.
Yes, poorly, but you're still paid.
Yes, Alex.
Would you also include the 666ers that when they were in Div 3 as compared to Top Sauce?
Weren't
Okay.
they 4 that
Say-
back then?
No, they were 3.
I don't think.
Triple Sixers have played Div 3, but they were not good in Div 3.
It's true.
When
They-
they started off, no?
Look it up.
Okay.
Aren't you
No,
the guy who looks things up?
Warriors was a
What's
team that was
happening this
dominant back
week?
then.
In Div 4, like the Triple Sixers, who did okay and kind of poorly in Div 3. So, can we go to the actual analysis now?
Thank you.
Are they?
But I want you to hype it
Okay,
up.
forget this on
Can you-
pace.
we don't have hype music ready, eh? Eagle?
What hype? No, but
This is not hype music. We go ahead. Read it over the hype music.
I don't want to read it. No, because I need to get these thoughts out, and all I want to do is jam to this hype
Yes.
music.
Do both. Go ahead.
I can't. I'm too fired up.
Yeah, but this is fired up music, is it not?
Shut it off.
Although I will say that song does make me think I need medicine for erectile dysfunction.
Did you say rectal dysfunction?
Yeah.
Okay.
I said what I mean.
So, I think first of all, to be the greatest team in Division 3, number one, you have to win the championship, which Top Sauce haven't done yet, ever. Not just in Division
but
3
we're
or
asking
otherwise.
predict the future.
No. So I don't think that they will be the best, because I don't think they will be the best Division 3 team ever because there were some ridiculous Division 3 teams back in the day, including Division 3 championship teams, because before the cap, you could do whatever you wanted.
There was a wild west.
And I was an offender of this one. Top Sauce are not even the best Division 3 team I've played on.
Yeah, this is basically, it's like before the new AIDS existed in the 70s,
Yeah.
that was the pre-cap era for FPL.
There was no protection.
Yeah, not at all.
So you guys asked earlier if a team had ever put up 400 points in a season.
It's true.
And I said I would come back to this. Yes,
Sure you did.
I know that because Winter 2013 DK, which I was a part of, and I was the weakest link of a very strong team, put up 408 points in a plus minus of 208.
That's
So
dirty.
Rushdie at quarterback, the Pilons, Ryan Reedy at Rushdie Benablicator at quarterback, Alex and Serge Pilon, Ryan Reedy at rush. So that makes me think of one of the best teams in Division 3, but I think that the best Division 3 team for the time, and maybe even now it wouldn't be, but for the time was the pre-Marco Masiotra D-Boys. Winter 2011, D-Boys, all three Lanny brothers, Matt Kirouac, John Laristis, Gino DeFazio at quarterback when Gino DeFazio was at like the heyday of his strength, and probably one of the best two-way players in the league, if not the best two-way player in the league that year, of Marc Champagne. That team was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
And DK won a championship with that team. Did D-Boys win?
I said in order to be the best, you have to have won, and so I named two teams who have won. Yes, so
The Ric Flair principle.
woo. Sorry,
So loud.
and it was Winter 2010, not 2011.
Yeah. So, but now, can you give us like 30 seconds of you like cutting a promo of like you just going in how awesome Top Sauce is and gonna steamroll everyone, and because I want something to use against you if it doesn't work out.
But I know it's not going to work out because it's happened before. Top Sauce are going to implode.
The music is perfect. It fits it so well. Thank you, Eagle. Your thoughts, though, Simo, quickly. So, final, just in summation, yes or no?
I said
I know, I don't remember because Jim was talking for 45 minutes.
I know. I also think Top Sauce is gonna implode, but not. I think they're gonna finish like 8-2. They're not gonna have another like they won't go 10-0. They're facing Laval's Finest. I believe Laval's Finest is the better team out of the two, but Top Sauce is gonna have a great season. 8-2 is a great season in my opinion. That's what they're gonna have, and then when playoffs come, that's another discussion.
So, one question phrased two different ways and very quickly because we're running out of time. So, you'll get the more common question, and GM, you'll get the more interesting question.
Cool.
What do Laval's Finest have to do to stop this machine?
The Top Sauce machine.
Yes.
Rattle Vince Nardo.
And GM, what do Laval's Finest need to do to stop the machine, like Terminators?
When you said like Terminators, but you said stop the machine, and I was thinking of that like Burt Chrysler stand up there.
Also,
I am the machine, where
Yes,
he goes to
Chrysler's-
where he goes to Russia as a foreign language exchange student. Anyone who has not seen that, check it out because it's a great bit, by the way. What do they need to do to
Stop the machine.
Feed it vodka.
Nice. All right, that's
Nice.
good. That's good because vodka induces rust. GM, what's the time for?
Games of the week.
Cool.
About that time. So of the few games that are being played in week 5, Bearskins against the Dirty Dogs.
Give me the barely skinned.
I agree.
Best name for condoms.
Laval's Finest against Top Sauce.
I just said it. The Laval's Finest.
Give me Laval's Finest. For the untested reasons that we said before.
Mhm. And Recipe for Disaster against Darksiders.
Oh, that's good.
Give me Recipe for Disaster.
No, give me Darksiders. I like you guys.
So we find us.
Will-
we find
will
a
you-
sixth
I was
defender?
about to say, have you found defenders at that point or
No,
no?
not yet.
Okay.
No, not yet.
Fred.
I just
Um,
got the information about JCBnet today. So.
So
Fred.
That Laval's Finest Top Sauce game is actually a Wednesday, 11 o'clock. So drink lots of coffee that day.
Yeah. I'll probably score
and
two
it
that
will
game.
undoubtedly snow. It always does on Wednesday nights at Hay Bear. Like really badly.
That's an amazing weather phenomenon.
Yeah.
Only at Hebert does it snow.
Yeah,
though.
it's like like in
And
cartoons.
only on Wednesdays.
You know there's cartoons with a cloud over a character's head.
So
That's Top Sauce Wednesdays a bear.
so Meteo Media just found a
Yeah.
new guy.
It
Yeah.
follows Justin McLean because he comes from like Saint Agathe-des-Monts or wherever he lives.
So
Man,
it's
that's
just like
far.
because he lives on top of a
He,
mountain.
he does.
That's
You know,
fine.
like when you drive in like up north and you see like just one chalet in the top of the mountain. That's where Justin McLean lives.
So we now have Mo's traffic report and GM's weather report.
We need each of the media members to have a report of some sort.
That's awesome. We'll find ours, by the way,
Yeah,
in the
it's
season.
fine.
Week 6. Drop the mic against KGP.
Drop the mic.
Drop the mic.
Le Malud against the QB movement.
That's a good game.
That's a good game.
I'll take QB movement.
Give me Malad. Give me Malad. It'll be close, but give me Malad.
And lightweight against Looney Goons.
Looney Goons by 60.
Makes sense.
No.
Terrible.
Honestly, my legit analysis is give me lightweight in that game. Simo, for all we make fun of him, doesn't have that many bad games back to back. So
When you're talking in this game lightweight against Looney Goons and you say Simon, do you mean Simon Dagenet or do you mean Sébastien Simon?
you're right. Give me the boo. Simon Dagenet. But Sébastien Simon will pick him off at least.
Yes, most
Wait,
likely
are we
once.
booing Simon Dagenet or are we booing you?
We're always booing Simon Dagenet.
Why?
Booing and tagging. From all of us here at Calling the Audible, thank you for letting me be myself.
Good night, Deboo.
Good night, everyone.
We still have another show, by the way.
Oh!
I gotta.